Welcome in. We are live right now. It is the Skee Sports Card Show here, Project 2020, the artist interview series. I'm DJ Skee, joined by the legendary, the iconic, somebody that's become a good homie over the past couple months, Gregory Siff.
Thank you, Skee.
Welcome in, brother.
Good to be back here. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
good
great.
to be back
here.
here.
To the mic
right
a little
over
bit.
here.
Yeah. No, it's great to be doing this series here because we are live right next door to Cards and Coffee, and you were the first person to bless our wall in there, and it's still up there. He did an incredible mural. Let's actually talk through that.
Yeah.
It's such a dope piece.
When I pulled up first, there was this TV that was right in front of the doors, like before we walk in, and you know, Dan was saying we've got the coffee breakers, and I was like, can I just get a hammer and break that TV screen that's just left on the street and just type and write the coffee breakers like welcomes? So that was like the first paint that went on the wall. And then, you know, that was like the warm up. And then I love telling stories in my artwork and in my cards. So this mural is our story. I was gonna say your story because you're on the wall. You're on the Hall of Fame up there.
I was honored to be painted by you, man. I feel like I never want to do anything. I'm gonna like cut that off someday and frame it, and you know.
Got the Twins hat on.
Yeah, I love the little details and how much you pay attention, and that's what's so dope about a lot of the cards in this Topps Project 2020 series, right? Is the little details that go into it. So as a little preface, if people are just joining us or not familiar with the project, Project 2020 took 20 iconic artists to identify 20 of the most iconic baseball cards ever, and in essence remix them. And Gregory has been putting out incredible pieces that each one is, it's in essence like a piece of fine art. And I think Topps didn't expect the level of detail people were going to go in and do that. And we're actually going to be giving away 20 of your next drop for free to you people watching us in the chat right here. So stay tuned. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with us. And for the grand prize, we've got one of these, the full, what is this? Break down what this is,
So,
what this piece is too.
So this is Topps Project 2020's fine art print program that this one just dropped, I think yesterday. And this is, you know, the captain, Jeter, respect. You've got a lot of elements on there. When I made the card, I wanted to keep it pinstripe, navy, Yankee blue, and I had to do, you know, Mr. November. But
so sick. In
terms of perspective, like Jeter is known as, you know, #2, and where there's no name, you don't even need the name on the back of the jersey. So I had my boy over, Evan, and he actually played Bucky Dent in the Yankees movie, The Bronx is Burning. Yeah. And we're like, I want to spin the head on this card. He's like, well, why don't you turn Jeter around? I was like, pose for me. And it was like old school. I was like, hold the mid up and hold the ball. And that's my boy in the card posed as Jeter. But I wanted to just, you know, just do a different perspective. You've got, you know, New York. You've got the classic Yankees logo. And that's where it stems from, like the stories that come together. A lot of my pieces have elements, and I also wanted to be traditional to Topps because the card is already a work of art. Yeah. Like you see that card, everybody knows it's Jeter's, you know, 1992 draft pick, but 93 rookie card, and yeah, they look cool side by side.
It's phenomenal. It's such a cool card and such a cool print. Again, we are going to be giving away one of these tonight on the show. Shout out to Topps for really hooking us up. It's such a dope project. So you're actually a big baseball fan.
Yes, and it started at a young age.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I think they're very similar time frames due to teams where we both lived at the time being good, but you tell your story.
You played Little League?
Course, man. I thought it was gonna be a pro baseball player, right?
Yeah, that was my first dream before. Like it was like play for the New York Mets, you know, be DiCaprio, like be an actor. And everyone was like, so I was like, I'm gonna be the best catcher I can be. I'm gonna be the best. Like I don't care. So I threw myself into everything, and that became my sport. And my dad, and my uncles had a catering hall called La Mer Caterers in Brooklyn, and Lee Mazzilli from the Mets at that time got married there, and it was '86. So because all of the '86 championship players were there, they're like, let's throw our party here.
Wow.
So Dwight Gooden, Darryl Strawberry, the whole team, like me being a kid, seeing these guys play, like Gary Carter was my hero and Gooden, because I was a catcher, and now I'm scooping Italian ices for them and eating with them. And then baseball became a connection, like me and my dad going to see the Mets games, me and like that memory burned into like that orange and blue. And grew up in Rockaway Beach in Queens, which is like 20 minutes.
Right there.
If you're in Queens, you're Mets.
You're absolutely. And that was the golden era, right? 86.
Dude, the magic, that just the way that they won, and then the city and the parades. And
this is when baseball was probably bigger than life, right? It's before the internet and like people could get distracted by other things. So the World Series was really the World Series.
Talk about like paparazzi back then, when you see like a ball player in plain clothes showing up to the stadium, and you got Darryl and Dwight coming in, and
showing up the Dwight Gooden card.
Showed off that good, and I got one too over here.
Fire.
And that was a cool part of that, is that in this card, if I go through it, you've got I put my mom's dress in there because Gooden, she said Dwight Gooden was so kind, and I put my dad's La Mer Caterers in there.
Wow.
And I put all of the things that I connected, because I feel like the memory of that. The memory is frozen in these cards, and everyone has an association of their heroes, and I think family and baseball are tightly intertwined. Things live forever. Like
that's an interesting point. Baseball and family really are intertwined. My whole family is diehard baseball fans from different regions. My mom's side, all diehard Red Sox fans. They grew up around Boston and things. My dad's side, all St. Louis Cardinals fans. My grandfather actually had a tryout when he was like 17 for the Cardinals and was one of the youngest guys there. So, and me being growing up in Minnesota, became a Twins fan, and I became a Twins fan, I think, because they were so good. I was there for the 1991 era. I was at Game 6 of the World Series, sitting in center field, 10 rows from where Kirby Puckett hit the great game-winning home run in extra innings, saying, I'll see you tomorrow night. I was there Game 7, and that's what started my love for sports. So it was being there for, and I think it was so important for me to have a team that was good to really cheer for, because I saw the levels of excitement and joy that they can bring. It's probably the happiest moment of my life still, and I'm still itching for another championship.
Yes.
No Minnesota teams have had it.
When you care about something like that, I feel like that too. Like my mom would say, it's time to go to sleep. You can't watch any more of the game.
No.
And I made like a casino chip with like a Mets sticker on it. I'll hold it in my hands and pray at night that when I woke up, the New York Post would say, Mets win. Like that's like I think baseball was a devotion thing for me too. Like if you believe, right? If you believe, and that was like the slogan for the Mets. And yeah, man, that's great that you have those memories, and that's in. I mean, it's in your blood. Your grandfather.
Yeah, man, and that's what's so special too, and that's why it's interesting about baseball cards more so than any other sport, right? And I'm a fan of other sports as well, but baseball is my favorite, and it's because of that legacy, that history, and cards have a lot to do with it. And if you look back on history, the first cards were baseball cards. I mean, even my shirts, the T206, Honus Wagner, right? The most still expensive card sale of all time. And I think that legacy can't, it just doesn't exist in other places. And these cards are so iconic, which is, and I talk about this with the artists that we talk up here, but getting that call from Topps and them letting you kind of go wild on these cards, what was that moment like for you?
So I was in Tampa. I was doing a show with Cast Contemporary Gallery and 4 AM Gallery out in Tampa, and building these 3D a square and doing this 3D theme. And I got the call, like, when you go to New York, it was just like at the end of February, you're gonna go and meet up with Topps, and we're gonna do this. And I was like, okay. And like, I went to the city. My first card was George Brett, and I brought that one too.
Oh, let's check it out. Yeah.
On the AP, and
So
George is my
sick.
dad's name, so I was like, I took that as a sign. So I got card number 11, and 7x11. My dad loved to shoot dice. George Brett's the first card, and I was like, it feels like this is happening. And then I get to go to the Topps offices, and you got the wacky packages, and Star Wars, UFC. Shout out Brittany Palmer.
Yeah.
And so the first idea was like, okay. I got back to LA, and we're like, this is gonna be really fun. Like, you have free range to do what you gotta do. And I wanted to tell George Brett's story. So you start to really do the research. And basically when I'm painting the card, I'm in the car listening, I'm watching, I'm like absorbing as much of the man's life as well as, his career. So it's on and off the field. I try to put that into into the card.
It's incredible. So how did you approach the first card, and how has your approach evolved in design of the cards over time?
So for the first card, what I wanted to do was do a. I wanted to let everybody know in the baseball card world that you're now entering art. This color, there's collage, there's portraiture, there's story, there's street, and there's also the game. And I didn't want to I didn't want to ignore the game of baseball. So inside there's a lot of codes in this first card that show, the pine tar incident on the right. Then there's, like just his relationship with his father, which was George Brett and his dad had a locking horns type of thing, which was also those type of stories lead to, heroic players and heroic choices. Yeah. And I put all of that, once I got that out on the first card, I was like, oh boy. I was like, here we go. I can't wait till we get to Geddon. I can't wait to get to players that I grew up with. I mean, I grew up with George Brett, but when
you're touching the Mets and the Yankees players, especially coming from New York originally.
And this is the Ripken.
The Ripken is so fire.
So sometimes the cards are this size, and sometimes they're like,
And it's interesting because you can see some of them have different themes. Like I just pulled up the Big Hurt, the Frank Thomas one, and it's similar in kind of style and look towards the Brett, right?
Yeah. Yes.
In terms of the theme.
And that's what I wanted to do with the Trout one. So each few of cards kind of fit in their own sets. Cool that you noticed.
I've been buying these since before I was even partnered up with Topps to get this project. Like. That's why it's so cool to be here, because I've been a fan of this since day one when I first heard about it, because I think it's such a good way for new people to get into the sports card hobby, especially, and the timing couldn't be better, right? Now it's able to bring all of the fans of your work, fans of art, and even people that might not necessarily be baseball fans, because these are, and that's why it's so great to have these big prints now, because they're truly pieces of art, and that's why it's such a cool project. And I think it's going to go down in history as one of these things that kind of changed the game. And you're going to see a lot of people copy it, which is great. But it's so cool the way that it's been done. Now, beyond the cards, which there's so much to talk, and we've got so many in front of us. We're not even going to be able to get through this full hour. We might have to do this 5 more times together with you, Gregory.
What do we got? There was something else I was going to tell
what you got?
I was just going to say something about it'll come back to me.
Okay. Well, I want to talk a little about, we talked about the cards in Project 2020 a little bit. I want to give people a little background on yourself if they're not familiar, because your resume is, that's a whole hour reading that off. You're in LA, you're from the Queens, as you talked about. When did you know art was your calling?
So I had always been attracted to the lifestyle of art. I guess, my mom, as we all start out as kids and stuff, going to museums and just, comic books, action figures, that kind of feeling, drawing in your notebook. But then as my relationship with art was, as I grew into a man and as I entered the world on the hero's journey, when things weren't going the way they were supposed to go, I found I could count on this thing that would just you write in the Matrix, you pick up the brush, you're in this place which you're untouchable. It's you feel. So anytime I did something like that, and then the people that I hung out with that were artists, I was like, I like these guys. It's like hanging out with the X-Men. Like these guys have superpowers.
Seriously.
And I came out here to do this Disney show. I'm talking like 20 years ago. Yeah. And
because you have more of an artist background than just painting. Singing, acting. People might not know. Writing plays, writing poems, and that's why even with finding street art and finding. There was a release of, putting your name out there and putting art out there and then having it critiqued and having someone be like, you're a punk, and having someone come back and show them that you're not. It was this kind of I found where I was supposed to be, and then I didn't let up. And that's why I guess share it. One of my favorite artists, Louis Cannizzaro, he said, dream of the craziest idea and do it. So show someone that you're an artist, step up to a hotel and be like, my art should be in here, and then see what they say, So did you do that?
Yes, at the Standard Hotel. And I was like,
So how does this happen? The Standard Hotel, and at this point, is like one of the most popping properties in LA, because LA didn't have that many hotels at the time. That's what's so crazy if you really look back at it at a high level like that, right? It was a lot of second tier ones, and then like Beverly Hills Hotel and a couple other options. But the Standard was that like cool one. So
yeah, it was the one with the tank, and the girl was in there, and there's always a new painting in the back.
It was so dope, right on Sunset. So like, you walk. So tell me that you just walk in there, and you're like,
I was just like, I was like, I'd like to have my art back there. And they said, oh, all right. And they, the guy that was, because I was flying out from New York to come stay in. And I said, well, can I do an art show here? And we'll have it up for the night. You know, just have it up for the night. And I'll donate the whole first show to a charity that I choose.
And did you have a name at this point? Like in terms of the industry and in terms of art?
No, nothing.
So nothing. So they can't look you up and be like, oh, this show is going to, like today, if you did a show, it's like a no-brainer, right? Like if Gregory wants to come do something, you let him do it. But this is a point where you haven't made it on that side.
No one knew the name. It was just like vibrating stuff. It's just like you give someone and it was a little bit of everything. Like the fact that I wanted to go and like put myself out there. And then I said there was a charity called Juice, Justice and Uniting Creative Energy. And it was like an after-school program for kids to do emceeing, breakdance, spray paint, art. And I had went there because I wanted to learn can work. I wanted to learn the things I couldn't do. And I was like, I'm going to donate the whole show to them. We sold out the show, and that was my first entering like, whoa, this is, I'm doing something right here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. But that shows that fortune favors the bold oftentimes. Sometimes you just got to step outside of your comfort zone and do it, right?
Of course. And that's when in the discomfort is where you find the good paintings and where you find yourself, and then you find your tribe. And like I found my manager, Lisa from 4 a.m. Gallery. And it's like when someone can see to the same level. And
incredible gallery. Shout out to 4 a.m.
Put as much care into it. Like, because really, like Drake has that line, like, how's this guy working like he got a twin, though?
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to find a twin. You want to find someone that could just has the same amount of heart that could do that. And then you get this, like, group of artists that are, like, who believe in you.
And the rest is history. So you started getting your stuff in the Standard. What would you say was your moment, or what piece was the exhibition was the one where you became that household name in the art world, and you were on that upper echelon? What was that real career-breaking, I guess, turning point for you?
There was a show. Thanks for asking that. That's a great question, because, of course, you always believe in yourself. Yeah. And then that moment when everyone believes in you. And it comes when you don't expect it, right? Like, no, you're doing it for fun. 100%. You're finding like this is. And you might not. It might be a moment that you're not really ready for at that time, but you just have to embrace it. Yeah, I want to ask that. Oh, that's a great question. I want to ask you, because your career is filled with, I mean, incredible. Oh, thank you, man. You're the maestro, dude. So there was a show at Siren Studios on Sunset Boulevard. Right down the street from where we are right now. Yeah. And it was up top, and I did a show called There and Back. And it was about my relationship of going there and back. There, New York, there, LA, back, New York. And it was like, I missed my mom, but I'm coming here. And it was there and back even before I was the art there and back. It was like me discovering, becoming a man and coming out to LA and going for a dream. And it always lives in the dream. And that night of that show, I did a wall of 100 canvases with different faces and words. And they were like $200 back then. Yeah. And that night, everybody showed up. I'm standing looking at this wall of 100 faces with no art, and then I'm looking over here with tons of people, and people are like, that's me, and this, and people are taking pictures, and I was like, oh my gosh. And everyone's like, we had a big painting there that was $10,000, and that was like my big, it was like a huge piece. What was that piece? That was There and Back. That was New York and LA, four pieces that can connect. Yeah. And he's like, we sold the big one, and then this whole wall sold out. And then it was like, wow, it was like a rock star moment in that. And there was always an element of doing good in it. There was always an element. We worked with communities and schools, and I had a sticker wall, because back then I was hitting the streets hard with, putting like faces and words up, but stickers. Yeah. And I put them everywhere. And I did this thing with the kids where they made stickers and they could sell their art. So we had a wall with all of their stuff. And that was like, I always found that success and feeling good felt good when it was giving back. When the energy is a mirror, when it's boom, boom. When it wasn't just take.
100%.
So I always have that in mind as something like, how could this help someone? How could
I love it. Wow. What a great story. Gregory Siff. This is why he's the man. And that's why in this series, of course, we're talking cards and baseball, but I want you guys to understand the work that goes into this. And we're going to talk about how long it takes to do these cards, but the time and years it takes to you to get to a point to be able to do this. It's just truly phenomenal. But it's time to give away a couple cards, I think, right now on the stream. Dash Radio on our Twitch is going to give away a couple on YouTube as well as Twitch, but we might just pull up a couple random comments. So we'll read them on air. Let's see. Hold on. This is great. T-Bone NYC says that you have a Mike D vibe from the Beastie Boys, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Mike D.
We've got Percy30 who's looking forward to your Robinson.
Say that again? He's looking for my Robinson?
He's looking forward to it.
All right, man.
That's going to be a big one. You got a couple cards left. And then he says, I'm waiting for you to do a DJ Skee card. We got to do some collab or something cool. We're not done here. As a realtor, I love the wall you did for the Altman Brokers. So that's great.
80 feet.
Can't wait for the Skyline
60.
project tomorrow. Amazing show at Standard Studios. Love it. Great story. This is a great one. Let's give D Sips a card. Siff's Jeter card is the reason why I started collecting. It's beautiful. Thank you. So that's a big one. D Sips, we're going to hook you up with Gregory's next card, which is
Ted Williams, Boston Red Sox.
So we can't go back in history because the print runs are capped, and that's a real thing. But we can give you versions of the next one. So we've got you hooked up. Shot Flower Gamer, DX Diamond Fire, NBA 2K League Show, a lot of our Dash fam in here. We're going to do a couple more giveaways right now through Dash. We'll let them choose it. But let's get back to talking about these cards. So I want to talk about the creative process that goes into when you're assigned an artist. You gave a little history in the Brett, but how do you approach each different card? Because there's just in my hand, there's kind of actually four. And there's some cards that have like the similar themed. If I take like the Gooden, the Ricky Henderson, there's some like the George Brett and Frank Thomas that have the similar theme. There's some that are just outside the box, like the Big Mac, which is just incredible and one of my favorite cards. And then there's like also the Tony Gwynn one, which is just like straight San Diego and those vibes and stuff. So how do you approach because I love it. You never know there's certain themes that are carried across. And of course you have your own style and all the little caricatures that you draw throughout that, but they are all very unique.
I try to make stuff that I want to hang on my wall. And then I also like to try to excite myself and try something new. I vary it up. Sometimes I'll do the ink staining, which I like. It's like a collage. It's like, and it'll be really, sometimes it's really small. And then I like to do like the mural style for Gooden. What it all comes down to is I use it's all coming from the same heart and the same materials. I use spray paint, I use crink, I use
And are you doing
ink.
these on giant canvases? Like, how does this start from a process? So say if there's another card, and we're in your studio, what is going on?
So the Don Mattingly was on a large canvas, 30 by 40, acrylic on canvas with crink, and then I was able to. We sold a bunch of these cards and donated to the Mattingly charities. And
so what is this card? This one is
Donnie Baseball signed this one.
Beautiful.
To Gregory, awesome card. Is that? Yeah. That was that was the first time a player reacted with the card, and
sick.
And he signed it in gold. And
that's going to be so dope, too, just like getting one of the greats. And I know you're a Mets guy, but still being from New York, getting Don Mattingly and signing it and just the gold, too.
So that's how...
that's probably the best feeling and best thing that you can get from this project. It's when these players...
And then my boy Andy was able to get this to happen, which goes down in history and the legacy of Bob Gibson. And we got 10 of those. And he signed it in chrome. And the day that I got these delivered, the news came that
R.I.P. Bob Gibson.
And what a life and a legend that from coming up to the Golden Gloves I put on there as a boxer, a natural athlete, played for the Globetrotters, and found his calling in baseball, and also rose up out of adversity to to claim his place in history.
It's an incredible card, and his story is so I was familiar with because my family being Cardinals fans, right? Is such just an incredible, and he was so good, right? Underrated. He just mowed people down. Like, you did not want to play him. He was probably the most intimidating baseball player of that era.
I was watching a documentary and interviews about him, and yeah.
And that has to be so fun because you're learning so much about these players, because we all know about, like, if you're a baseball fan, you know about all these players. It's very obvious they're all big superstars. But when you dive in and do these cards, you want to really dig deep in that history on them.
Yeah.
And learn more, so you can reflect it with things like, I didn't realize he was a Harlem Globetrotter. I didn't know a lot of those other things. How much research does it to go into each one of these projects?
There's 20 cards, right? So I try and focus on, like, you got to get in the mind of each one separately. So I put myself in the position of, where do I connect with them as a person? What do I know about the player? Because a lot of the players, I may never have seen play ball before, but you know the name. And but for me, if it feels good, I try not to deviate too hard from the way that I approach a painting, because I don't want it to look like something I've never made before. Yeah. So I just really go, it starts out, you just crack open some Lucky Charms, you're eating and you're just listening, and I put on some YouTubes. And then I'm like, oh, really? And then, like, something sticks out, like the Golden Gloves, and the Golden Gloves, and my dad had the Golden Gloves necklace. So I was like, let me put the Golden Gloves with the diamond in the middle of it, and then I love like where the roots are, Omaha. Like, I start to go, where's the origin and where he's at. So I think that's how it went through, like that,
Super sick. Super sick.
And then what else? But then for which was really cool was, my Trout card had just come out, and he's, just the devotion to his team and to in Anaheim, and I really that one. I got obsessed with, and especially the $4 million card, and that's why I integrated both of those into my Trout. Right. I don't know if you saw that one, but we're doing these rainbow foils that show up randomly.
It's so sick. It's funny, I was gonna order one and missed it. That's the only problem with Project 2020 Topps. I need like a subscription button so I can just subscribe to all of them, because I'll be like on the road today and missed it.
Imagine
it's incredible what you did with the foil, right?
And that was like
so sick.
It was one of those things where, like, if Topps is there for your creativity, if you wanna like say
it's dope.
If you have a crazy idea, voice it, and you'll find it. Even the World Series cards that came out of, like,
those
just
are
the
sick.
love of.
Yeah, you did a couple Dodgers cards, so you can see it's for some of the players.
The LA Dodger cards.
So sick.
And there was a low number on a few of those, so those are highly desired right now. I can't wait to open them up and, like, see him in person.
It's great, and that's what's so dope about this series. And obviously, we're here because of Topps, so shout out to them. But we're not just saying this because of it. They've truly been great partners. They're letting even people like us kind of do our things off the cuff. Like, they don't have any guidance for us. They're like, talk about the prints, give them away, and that's really it. And in the cards, like, a lot of brands, and I keep saying this with other people, but you know how you've worked with a ton of brands over the years. And I'm sure there's been many times where they've come back with, like, oh, we want to change this, or we want to do this, or they're very, focused on how it reflects the brand. Topps kind of lets everybody go pretty crazy with these cards.
Topps lets you be yourself, and how do you want to, because the card's already in history as, the way that it looks, and they want you to share it. I feel like I've never had any kind of creative issues with whatever I've dreamed of, and it always comes out. And actually seeing the cards come to life also on the print, it's just
the prints are phenomenal, especially the quality.
The paper, the hand-deckled edges, the boldness of the color, just the way they treated the whole thing, signing them, the way that the whole thing is done right, and coming from an art standpoint. And this is what I want to say. Yeah. The friends that I've met through this. And that's my favorite thing, like, being, building my relationships with guys that I get to see, like Dan Fleischman.
Shout out to Dan.
And Steve Aoki.
Shout out to Steve.
You become friends through the card, and then through, the Instagram, and in real life. And like Blake Jameson, when we went to New York City, the MLB store in Times Square, and they had a signing. So that was the first time I was able to meet the collectors and have see what they felt like on a personal level. And this is Blake's Jeter, and he signed it. He signed it, and I signed it dual because we were in Times Square that day.
It's so amazing.
And Blake Jameson, like he was the guy who was like, you got to get in on this, man. There's autographed editions. There's so much fun to be had in the world of Project 2020. And shout out to Blake for.
And that's what's so cool about, I guess, the whole resurgence of the card scene is it's really a community, and it's for me, I've made a lot of new friends, even people like yourself, and become closer friends with other people that I've known a long time, just over this hobby. And it's such a fun and cool thing, and I'm so glad to see kind of the resurgence of cards happen. Did you know that the card scene was this crazy, or gonna be this crazy, I guess, when you started working on this project earlier this year? Because I think this is there's a few things that accelerated it. COVID, there's a lot of things bubbling, and I put Project 2020 as one of those things that introduced a new audience and brought it to the masses, especially, remember, what was it, Memorial Weekend, or when it went crazy, when it went ham.
With the Keith Shore, Griffey. And I mean, it was such a, it was a great, distraction to, everything was splitting apart on the outside, and the inside, everyone was finding something to get excited and happy about. And there was a lot of joy, a lot of emails, and a lot of DMs from guys like, thank you, man. I wake up in the morning. It's fun to see what's coming out. Love what you're doing. And just so little things like that stack up. And then you remember, like, we're not separate. No matter what our beliefs are, whatever our viewpoints are, no matter what our careers are and things, right? Like, cards brings everybody together. And I've been telling people it's like, ironically, a great networking passion. Like, if you go find somebody, if you find me and you're an artist you want to talk about, if you come talk to me about music, it's what I get all day. It's work, right? Like, somebody comes and talks to you about art, you're like, all right, great. There's a million. But if somebody comes and talks to you about cards, I'm like, oh, what is it? No matter what walk of your life you're in. So it's an incredible networking opportunity randomly, right? Dude, tell me about some mixtapes.
Yeah, right? It's like, how many times can we do that?
I know. But what is cool is that, like, that your work and your arc as an artist and who you are becomes what you leave behind, as well as the person you are. So I look at these cards now and, like, the ones that, the original pieces, the ones like the cards, I want to tell that story to my kid one day. Like, in 2020, there was a lot of craziness going on. Yeah. And then what's going on is, there's a lot of craziness going on.
You literally said it right on cue, right?
Yeah, man.
But,
so in 2020, all this craziness is going on, but this is what, connected us together.
And literally the craziness live on the Hollywood Boulevard Walk of Fame. It's crazy. See, that's what happens when we are 100% live on Twitch. You got to love it. See, we're getting all the fans and stuff in here.
In Hollywood Boulevard, man.
We got some good fans, so everybody's showing up for Gregory Siff right now. That's what it's about. So you guys got to stay home and socially distance.
But it's a good thing we got our masks up over here.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's go ahead and do another giveaway right now on Twitch. We've got a bunch of people in the chat right now. Gregory Siff is up here. We're going to do the grand prize giveaway in a second, but first, let's go ahead and give away a couple more Project 2020 cards. The next one coming out, let's see, World Series So Awesome from Carter311. Jizza73 says that Brett print will be dope hung. NBA 2K League Show says Project 2020 is fire. Jay Borsarge says learning the artist's reasons behind their art is why collecting is so amazing. So let's give a couple away. Let's give one to Jay Borsarge, since I think that's dope. Let's randomly choose one right now. Sprolo5 says, I've been collecting cards my whole life, but this is the greatest and coolest thing ever, and so glad to have those interviews. So let's give Sprolo5 some of those, a card too. Damn, there's a bunch of people in here. Shout out to everybody tuning in. We've got a few more cards that we're going to give away in that chat. Gregory, let's continue on and talking about what's been your favorite card in this series?
Favorite card in this series right now, it's in between Gooden because of my boy Andy made this.
There we go.
We were hanging at the studio and he captured the creation of this thing.
Sick.
I felt,
and you're just a Mets guy, so of course this had to be like the coolest card
Trout,
for you to make.
The rainbow
right?
foil Trout and Brett and Jeter. I mean, dude, pick your favorite song, pick your favorite.
Pick your favorite kid. Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, because we're talking right in this moment, Gooden. Because it just I'm happy that I was able to to get a New York Met in there that I really like had a history with.
Yeah, it's incredible. That was probably the one that you looked forward to the most, right? When you first started doing this series?
Yeah, I was saving up, like, you don't want to shoot out all your secret superpowers on all of them. So I was like saving a little something extra. And that one's all with the first time that I took the can out and bombed out the whole wall. And then
and what was the most difficult card for you to make creatively? Was there any that took you a while to really get right, or to the point where you were
Trout
ready? Trout, really?
Trout was.
I mean, that foil seems so natural, and when I saw it, I was like, oh wow.
My best friend Scotty was like, he's like, you're doing your Trout. He said, look up the $4 million Trout card. And it's a Bowman rookie.
Yeah, which is Bowman's part of the Topps fam, right? So Bowman, for those that don't know, is the minor league card. So it's the first prospect cards you'll see on a player before Topps is the major league version.
And I'm working with all of these holograms. I did some hologram prints with one time run. I did the hologram stickers, and it's a refractor. So we were just kicking it in the studio, and Andy was like, I want to make this the hologram. He's going to make it a Siffractor. So that's how we were like. I had a hard time the first night. I couldn't do it. I was just like throwing paint at it. This is one of the test cards, and I was like, New Jersey. This is kind of like. Wow. Through the storm of the Trout.
So wait, so you actually took some prints of the original. Again, this is one of the most iconic, probably the most iconic card of this generation, the 2011 Topps Update Trout. And so you printed some out, and you started actually experimenting on it. That's
you start
really
pouring
crazy.
Ink on it, and like, but then I came back the other day. Like I went home that night,
it's phenomenal.
And I was just like, I felt like I can't do it. I can't do it. It's like not working right. And then I got back in there the next day. And then it just started to merge. And I was like, make him come out of the Bowman rookie. So like do dual rookies. And then
sick. Wow, that's like history that I'm touching. It's like the inception point for.
And then we put it in this case with like the stack and repeat of the autos.
Sick.
Like so Trout was hard for me to do it, and I guess because the big boys in it, Jeter, Trout, they're all big, but like there's a certain kind of like.
Yeah. And Trout is, I think, the most recent, the youngest player in the series, right?
He's the only player in Project 2020 that's on the field right now. I believe, yeah.
I believe that's right. I believe so too.
So that was a real cool part of it to see, to look at like the current and because
And this whole generation, again, these kids are watching Trout play. They can't see, and even a lot of these guys were before our time, like Bob Gibson. We know the legend of, but we didn't get to watch him play. We got to see King Griffey Jr., Doc Gooden, Big Herd, a lot of these other ones, but Trout is one that this next generation can see, and I think that's why a lot of people gravitate towards that too.
That was my most difficult one, and also as an artist. When the project started taking off, you're so amazed. I mean, you got Mr. Cartoon and Ben Baller, and you're watching all like. Yeah. I've looked up to Cartoon, and you
Cartoon's
were what a great episode, man.
Thank you.
To see his ice cream truck in the Mocha, and then just his. Every one of the cards embodies the artist, and then that's what you want to show up. You got to show up when that card comes out. So I just wanted to show up for Trout, man. I wanted to give when it comes to LA and New York.
You did it. Now I want to talk about some of the other projects that you've worked on too, because beyond cards, you've done so much cool stuff. I remember the stuff you did with what was it, Mercedes and Nas, right, for the AMG?
Yes.
That was fire,
dude.
So what did you do for people that aren't familiar with?
So,
because that's one of my favorite. I remember when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh wow, okay."
Damn.
Before we knew each other, so.
Rolling Stone, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Rolling Stone magazine was throwing a Super Bowl party at the Museum Fine Arts Houston. So this was the coolest thing for me to like paint something inside of a museum. Yeah, to paint something inside of a museum. I just want to like. I just want to ski with you, bro. I'm just like, yo, it's Skee right here. It's crazy. A lot of my friends were like, yo. Say what's up to Skee.
I appreciate it, man. Shout out to all the homies out there.
Yes. 300 bars.
That's right, taking it back. And it's funny, yeah.
Yeah, man.
OG stuff, so.
I love it.
We got to do some other. There's a lot of other collabs we got to do. Maybe Topps. We could team up and do some cards with some of these artists. Like, how crazy would it be to take back for some of those moments?
Dude,
That's
I just had a crazy idea.
Uh-oh.
You know how like those greeting cards that open up and you get the audio?
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe a Skee audio card where it opens
my
up. It
God.
goes, you just like special beats that you collect and put them together. I'm just thinking out
Topps
loud.
is gonna hate us because we're gonna make them do the most
most
complex. Technical cards ever, just by sitting in this room trying to do a little
iPhone.
interview.
Like it's gonna have like a touch screen
Love
card.
it. But that's what makes these things so special.
Damn.
That's what's so cool about this. Like, it opens your whole room beyond that. But
But
sorry, back to
Nas,
your
yeah.
back to your Nas AMG.
So I'm just like getting all crazy. It was a party, and my manager Lisa and I went to Texas, watched the Super Bowl, and then you got Busta Rhymes performing. Big Sean came through.
Yeah.
Nas. Nas painted with me, so they did a digital projection onto a Mercedes-Benz. And I'm usually painting like the G-Wagons, but this was like a super duper like
The
Back to
AMG.
the
Yeah.
Back to the Future looking thing. So I did the backgrounds, and then Nas and I, digitally. He was working at History, so we were like just writing, lyrics and putting it on, projecting it, and watching it move. And he was just like, there was one point like we were both trying to figure out this thing, and we looked at each other and we're like, because there's all these photographers and all this stuff going on, so it's a little awkward when you're trying to create and there's like cameras and lights on you and everything, and you just really, and we just cracked up, and I was like, I'm from Rockaway Beach. He's like, what's up?
That's a great icebreaker with Nas,
just
also
like,
from Queens.
Don't worry about it if we don't know how to. But it came out really cool, and that was one of the greatest weekends.
Who would have thought painting a spaceship with Nas, in essence, right? As
In a
kid.
museum, and
In a
then
museum at the Super Bowl, like.
yeah, Big Sean came through. That was I love his stories. Like they're the story of the dreamer. I always connected. I paint to a lot of rap music. It's like
What's your favorite album of all time? Or favorite album to paint to, even, or artist, you could say. We don't have to go as deep as album.
favorite to paint to. Well, I've been listening to Dominic Fike's new "What Could Possibly
He's
Go Wrong"
incredible, yeah.
because I feel like I'm at a Weezer concert again, and I'm
Yeah, that's a good way
and
to
I'm
put
just
it.
like, learned how to kiss. Like I just
story
feel
is
so
so
young.
ill, too.
And he was able to through Sujan, who you said what's up to. She was able to. I did a collab with Yves Saint Laurent,
Which was, by the way, is so sick. You were the first artist, I think, to do a collab with the new house. Yeah.
Dude, that's one of those things where, like the email comes in or the phone call comes in and you're like, this is like, you really wipe your eyes and you're like, is this real? But Dom wore it during MTV's, what was Snow Globe. And that
sick.
was so cool, like, cause like the music that creates the work. And yeah, I mean, it feels like music has followed me a lot through my work. And he was one of the Made in America artists for
Yeah.
Jay-Z's festival.
Yeah.
And I did the bomber jackets for
Yeah.
that. So I was like, I feel like music, especially hip hop, is intertwined into where my art.
Art is art, and the interesting thing about everything that we're talking about, whether it's music, whether it's cards, whether it's painting, whether it's even acting and things, it's creating something from nothing, right? Like there is, with this card, maybe you have a base foundation, right? But you start with something and it becomes something totally
Yeah.
different. And with your paintings, like you're creating something that's extremely valuable from a white canvas, which is just so unique. Same with music, right? Like we're sitting in a studio in thin air and making something that goes on to do those. And that's what's so fun and creative. You're not selling a physical item. And that's why so many artists, I think, can cross-pollinate between different sectors. You see a lot of and you see, right now, you're seeing people like A$AP Ferg painting and rappers starting to get into to that side of things. You're seeing a lot of artists remixing or DJing or doing different things. And it's so dope to see. And that's why I think there's so much more synergy. Art is art, no matter what it is.
There's no wrong way to paint.
Yeah.
And every one of us, just as we have our lives, we all have the gravitas, and we all matter. Everything that you have to put down on the canvas matters, and that's why it's cool. So when you go to a museum and you see something you might not necessarily understand, that's okay. There's meaning and there's a purpose to that person's story, and certain ones that even if it affects you, where you're like, this is whack, or this is, at least it made you feel something, and you didn't just walk by it. So I always feel like it's a really, the more you paint, the more you feel better about being in this,
energy.
I like, yeah, exactly.
Creativity, man. And that's what it really boils down to. And the crazy thing is that all the success comes once you're just doing things for fun and doing for the passion. And then you get that email from Topps. You get the email from Mercedes. You get the email from Saint Laurent. Like
Isn't that funny?
life,
Like when
right?
you're chasing it so hard, like I think that was one of the lessons and like going through in my world, because I was in the opera as a little kid.
Yeah.
I love
Art, more art, right?
music, yeah, art,
Creativity.
the backdrops on there, and just like the costumes and Turandot, the makeup, all of the different operas and stuff. But when it was in the acting world, it wasn't really like, I wasn't finding, I don't know what it was, but when that one thing, when you're hungry, or like when you want the girl so hard, you don't get that.
Yeah.
But when you just like
Let it come, right? Naturally.
just paint, and then things start to appear, and just treat them with the missing ingredient, which my dad's best friend always says, gratitude, man. He just say thankful. He goes, that's the missing ingredient that people don't get, is the
True.
thank you.
So, and we've got so many people out there that are watching this, and shout out to everybody that's hitting us up with such kind words and great words. What's been the coolest thing that somebody said or hit you up with around these cards? Because I know, I mean, the great thing about the sports card hobby is that these fans are so passionate about it, and they live, breathe, and die this. And there's so many great stories, and there's so many great people in it. What's been the coolest thing you've heard or somebody's hit you with in terms of a story around a card?
You bring it up, and that comes right to my head is Ryan Hack from Breaking One-Handed. You know him?
Yeah.
His father's name is Cal. And I think it was really cool because it was the beginning of the project, and I just saw him opening some Blake Jameson cards, and then he's like, I'm gonna open up this Gregory Siff, and he goes, this card means more to me than you know. My dad's name's Cal, and I love this card. And like, I find that deep connection with my father. And then I was just like, dude, this hits on a lot of different levels, where this guy is just so happy, and because of this card, because it reminds him of someone that's so important to him. And I loved that. Like, and there's so many of those stories you don't hear of. And then for every artist, you know, there's a root of it. There's a root of something going on there. Like I put the bull in a lot of my paintings, and I put the bull in a lot of my cards too, and that's my dad. This is my dad's ring. So when you see that in there, you know that there's some protection. You know that like there's different things like that. Like that was probably one of the.
Jizza73 says that his favorite is the Ripken. It's dope and iconic. So many dope cards. One of the ones I want to talk about before we get out of here, though, is we've seen a couple other designs in the 2020 series with the Big Macs on it, but I just love the way yours looks. And the little, you know, for me, what makes it is like the mustard stains, the ketchup packets, the fries, everything kind of at the bottom of this. Talk about, and it's a controversial card, like, and that's what's so interesting, right? Like, some people are like, wait, how do you touch it and change those things? Others, like me, I love it, right? Like,
and
that's
Ben
what's so dope around this.
That was really cool of
Same, right?
Ben when this dropped. He goes, he had a personal connection to burgers, and he was like, this is one of my favorite cards, if not the. And
it's so dope.
I had to shake it up because it was the same silhouette. I said I wanted to like make something, and you know what my connection is? The burger for me means fine art. When I was little, my mom and dad, we went to Mr. Chow's, and there was a drawing of a burger in a Chinese restaurant, and I was like, Mom, why is that? Why is Mr. Chow's have a burger? And she goes, that's Andy Warhol. That's fine art. He's a famous painter. So when I paint a burger, it means art. So and then it's Big Mac. So I didn't even write Big Mac on it. I wrote Big McGuire, so you know. And then I love painting junk food, and I put.
Did you eat any burgers in the making of this card?
Yes, in fact,
really?
when we were talking about it with Blake had I had Fat Burger.
Okay.
And Blake had a real Big Mac, and we ate 2 burgers. I had an Impossible, and we ate it together on the stream with him. And
it's phenomenal,
he's a good dude. You should interview Blake.
We got to get him up here. We got to get Blake up here. We're trying to get all the artists up here. Yeah, Sophia's coming up. There's so many dope people in the series, and that's what's so fun about it. And just the stories, the cards, the legacy, the histories, the artists behind it, the community behind it. Everybody, like, even, you know, if you go on like Blowout Card forums, there's whole threads dedicated to this that are updated nonstop. So shout out to everybody that's been checking us out there. Community is key, and I think that's what's so cool about this. And this card community is exploding and growing, but it's still, you know, these are the cool moments, right? And
I like that the mural is here, and this is kind of like a hub, because there really hasn't been a lot of physical spaces, like brick and mortar spots where you can go to and, you know, connect with people. And when you have that spot and there's a photo of it, everybody knows.
100%.
Like,
and thank
where
you,
you're at.
and thank you so much for blessing us. I mean, that's the famous photo wall I took even when Cartoon was here. That's where we took our picture together, and everybody comes down. It's become like an iconic thing, and that's what we're trying to do here with Cards and Coffee, and with other new shops too, like Bleecker Street in New York. We're trying, or Bleecker Trading in New York. We're trying to, in essence, bring in a new generation to cards, right? Like there's a lot of shops out there that have been around a long time, but in essence, we're trying to be the same way that like Undefeated did to sneaker culture, right? And created a place. It was identified from this new generation getting into it. We're trying to do the same thing with cards, and that's why the energy and stuff is so great, and it's so exciting having it here at our Dash headquarters and studios in our front pop-up space. It's great.
It merges beautifully.
Because I can look over in the card shop right next door, and you know we could do the interview. You've literally painted the wall. We're right here at 6363 Hollywood Boulevard. So if you're in LA, you've got to come down and check out the shop, and then watch an interview. And this is exactly why we built it. It's so.
I was so happy
fun.
you asked me. I was like,
of course,
for real. And I was like, definitely. I'm painting this show for Miami right now with Art Life and 4 a.m. Gallery, and I was like, the only thing that could pull me out of the studio is this, because I'm like in the Matrix, you know, like I'm building all these things. It's about thrills, the thrills of life, and this is a thrill. Like to be able to reimagine cards that made you feel a certain way as a kid, and then. I mean, I guess it's just the eternal kid in me, because I don't think I'm growing up anytime soon.
Definitely not. So you've got how many cards left in the series?
3.
Do you know what you're doing for all 3 yet?
No, I don't. I know I got Ted Williams, Jackie Robinson, and Roberto Clemente.
Those are like, I mean, socially, right? Like Jackie, Roberto, what they did for the sport and for both Latin and Black cultures is. Those are some big ones to touch.
And some of the, I mean, now that we're at the end of the project, and there's so many versions of these cards right now that are just like hit grand slams, all of them. Like I have to just go in there and, you know, pump that music really loud and just see what comes. They're great men. They really are great men on and off the field. All 20 of these players. Even hearing Clemente's story and just being a good human being.
Yeah, it's an incredible story for that. I'm sure you've got your work cut out. How long does it take you to make each card on average?
It's usually a grouping of like, it's 3 nonstop days fully. Like
it's some work. It's hard work.
Throw it down like 8 hours. You come back the next day and you're like, it's like editing a conversation. But some of them come out really just like, I think I might be able to just get a few of them in like the
good. And we're about to give away a print in a second, but we got a great question from ABC Soccer Girl who says, what card is your favorite as a print? Not as a small card, as the bigger print.
So right now because I've seen I've seen like 4 or 5 of them. Jeter as a print is my favorite, because I've seen the George Brett, I've seen the Ripken's really cool to see that up big. But I think the Jeter was one that I was waiting to see in this format, because those details that you can't see as a card, and like the reversal and
it's crazy, man. What's been your favorite card in the series that, in essence, we got people doing donuts on Hollywood Boulevard in front of us to get the attention. That's how you know we've got something there. That's one of the. That's the one that you painted.
Yeah,
it's so crazy. See, they heard Gregory that he painted the AMG. They're literally
it's Nas.
AMG that's circled.
Nas?
It's Nas pulling up doing donuts on us. We're live right here, cardhouse.net. What's another card that, not from you, but from another artist in the series, or a couple of them, you can mention them, that just did it for you? We're like, wow, we got to step up. Like, all right, they.
Dude, go in.
You can list a couple of them too, just memorable ones from other artists in the
memorable
series.
Ones from other ones. I guess the baller Gooden I loved.
Yeah.
Because he put in the apple, the home run apple, and just like he paid attention to what a true Mets fan would.
You're the authority there.
Yeah, man. I loved from the jump. I loved Blake Jameson's Nolan Ryan, because the abstract expressionist background, the color, that card, I was like perfection. F. Dot, Mariano Rivera,
Yeah.
Mo, like just he
those
did
are the
he
ones
turned him around and he got the number because that's such a hard card, that Bowman casual
Yeah.
plain coat.
It's a funny one when you look at it, right?
Dude, and that's what's cool about like art, you know, like
Yeah.
there's something iconic about, you know, being able to remember him in that light, like day one. I'm not
Yeah.
even in the uniform yet, but I'm on the team. So that's
Phenomenal.
what else? Yeah, those three. I know I'm missing some because there was like,
There's so many good ones in it, and so it's so tough, and why I can't wait to see in those people. Like my goal is I want to try to I'm gonna go back and try to accumulate all of them and figure out what to do, or put like some giant wall or something. But
Keith Shore's Gooden with strawberry in it. That blew my mind also. And yeah, I'm just like cartoons Gooden. All right,
of course,
I love
all those,
Gooden.
there's so many. Yeah, anything good, and you'll just say it. So another question comes from Jay Borsarge, who wants to know: are you doing Big Hurt as a print?
I think so. I think we're doing all of them as a print.
There we go.
I actually paint them.
I hope so.
Yeah,
They're so
Frank
dope.
deserves it, man.
They all deserve it. It's such dope prints. All right. One player you didn't get to do that wasn't a part of this series. One baseball player. Who would you do if you? It's not part of Project 2020. If it was Project 21, what would you do for the 21st one?
For another player.
If you could choose the player, though, it doesn't even have to be a big player. I'm sure it's going to be a Mets player.
Yeah, but let me think.
I mean, I thought I would know right away. Actually,
yeah.
there's a couple. There's a couple great legendary Mets.
And there's some crazy Mets that I love. Like I love that whole '86 team. Dykstra Nails. That would be a wild
that's right.
card.
I forgot. Oh, damn. That's
Yeah, that would be
right.
wild. I think like when I was growing up, you know, the cards that you gotta
Darryl,
get
right?
the Jose Canseco's. Like I remember, I looked
The Bash
Will
Bros.
Clark, the Bash Brothers. Like I look back at my stash in my room. Like
Will Clark. I
back then,
forgot
there were
about
the
Will.
screws on. You remember the?
I still got the screw-in
Yeah.
cases. Yeah.
I had the. So I think.
Was there a card that you had as a kid that was your favorite as a kid, or a card that you aspired to get that you didn't get?
Back then, well, I really wanted the Ken Griffey Jr. Stadium Club, horizontal, top
Yeah.
Stadium Club rookie. That was a really beautiful.
So many, and what's so cool if you go look back to those cards and all the brands that exist in baseball with Topps. I mean, I love Stadium Club. I think it's just it has so much history and is such a cool card. One of my favorite cards. I have an error card, Kirby Puckett All-Star. I think it's a '93 Stadium Club that says NL All-Star when he's an AL All-Star and stuff. So
What?
like those little details are always so fun and cool, right?
Gotta keep that.
You gotta love it. I love this whole card stuff. All right, we are unfortunately out of time for this episode. Before we get out of here, we've got the grand prize to give away. So I think we should do it as a trivia to somebody that's been watching. We could make it an easy question or make it a little more difficult. What do you think we should do? Should we really challenge them, or should we make it open to anybody? There's a couple questions I've got in my head.
Yeah, we could do.
What you want to do? You want to keep it easy?
Keep it easy, mate.
right.
Is it too easy, or is it something we just said it today? Or?
Yeah, you know what? Do you have any questions on your cards? Let's go deep and let's do a trivia card. It could be something that we've talked about. Let's give it to a real fan. It can be like a detail on a specific card that you bring up that you want to challenge to say, hey, let's, if it was, we won't use Big Mac, but if it was Big Mac, like, hey, I have, what is, how many burger patties are in that? We're going to find a creative question.
Yeah,
So
let's
we'll
find a
let you do
creative
that.
question.
Because and I think it's better to come from you because it'll enable us to learn about some of the details in some of these cards. So you guys get ready in the chat right now. Shout out to everybody still rocking with us.
Mariano over there?
I don't have Mariano on me, I don't think.
Oh, here he is.
Oh, you got it?
I'll
Okay.
put on this one because this one
All right.
is my last one that I. Oh, I got a good one.
Let's go. Gregory, you ask away. So we are giving away right now this print, 1992 draft pick, Derek Jeter, fine art print, signed, individually numbered. If you miss out, you can get it right now, Topps.com, Project 2020. And I think these are actually going to be so valuable. Like personally, as a collector, great investment, because where else can you get a Gregory Siff? Like if you look up the cost of a lot of these guys' prints, $3.99 and framed, this is a steal, even if it's just an art print. And especially if you're like a Yankees fan, you've got to get
Yeah.
it. So,
Double
speaking of
win.
Yankees fans, the question centers around Mariano Rivera. I'm going to try to answer too. I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going to try to win it because I want this print too. No, I won't. I'm just messing with you. I'm unfortunately not qualified. We're going to give it to one of you guys. But what's your question?
So Mariano is known as the like the GOAT, hardest. Oh, here we go. So if you'll notice on this card, Mariano's it says Hall of Fame, and there's these bats that are broken on there. You see that?
Okay,
Because he was
yep.
breaking so many bats.
Yeah.
A team gave him a gift. What was the gift that they gave him because he breaks bats? And what was the gift and who gave it to him?
Oh, that's great. So when players are in their last season and they're going into the Hall of Fame, it's kind of tradition when they go to the stadium, the teams that they play against will all, to honor them, give them a gift. Let's see if anybody can guess this in a chat. I'm trying to think. I remember seeing those things. Let's see if anybody can guess which. Okay, so let's see. Surfboard, chair made of bats, chair of broken
made
bats.
of bats.
Baseball Life _24 got it.
Yep. Rocking chair made out of bats. And his face.
And you know who it was from? The Twins.
Get out of here.
Amazing. See?
Mariano bats.
They said Twins rocking chair.
There you go.
That's amazing. So we're giving
Check
it to
it out. And his face is just glowing.
That's amazing. And it's a twin. How ironic is that, right? I didn't even guess it. That's my squad. I love it. See, and that's the fitting way. It's just a perfect way to end this. So congratulations to Baseball Life 24. You get it. But since Always Shazy said Twins rocking chair, we're going to send Always Shazy a card nonetheless. So shout out to you. Shout out to all you guys that rocked with us. It's been fun.
Dude,
Gregory.
This went by so cool.
We've got to do this again. We've got to continue on with Gregory. We've got to figure out some more stuff to do together. And then we'll have more excuses to come back here with you guys.
To be continued in 2021 or next week.
You know, exactly. You're welcome up here anytime.
Thank
it is the
you.
Skee Sports Card Show. Shout out to everybody that's been rocking with us. We are doing this every Tuesday and Thursday, 8 on the East, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 out here on the West Coast, live from Hollywood Boulevard, outside of Cards and Coffee. I'm DJ Skee signing off. Gregory Siff. Thank you so much. 3 cards left. Make sure you grab them all. The prints are available right now. Topps Project 2020. Thank you guys. And go listen to the podcast too. We're putting these all up as podcasts and on demand on YouTube. We might do a couple giveaways that way as well. So if you missed out, have no fear. We'll be back every Tuesday and Thursday with 20 more. Gregory, thank you, brother. Have a great one.
DJ Skee.
Yes, we out.